Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our SME Roadshow of EU Hubs for Data project. It's an EU-funded project. And I'm Justina. I'm project manager at European Digital SME Alliance. It's one of the partners in this EU-funded project. So today we will speak about digital innovation hubs. And for those who don't know yet what Digital Innovation Hub is kind of a one-stop shop. It's a regional support entity for small and medium-sized enterprises that help for those traditional companies that are not digital yet to digitize, to analyze their services and see how they can make them more efficient, more digital, and how can we basically transform into more digitally driven companies. While for those that are already providers of digital solution and that are digital enablers, digital innovation hubs will help with different testing facilities, with advice for funding, with IP issues, standardization, and many other questions which might come along. So digital innovation hubs are basically one-stop shop to help SMEs to deal with digital transition. And with EU Hubs for Data project, we are making even a step forward because at the moment it is planned by the European Commission that there will be around from 100 to 200, so around 150 digital innovation hubs that are regionally based all across Europe. And with EU Hubs for Data project, we are trying to help these hubs to work together, to connect with each other, to federate, and to actually provide services to any SME anywhere in Europe, not necessarily regionally, but using the online tools to one hub based in, let's say, Romania could provide services to SME based in France or vice versa. So this is a little bit of a background, but we need to dig a little bit deeper. And with our speakers today, we will actually get to understand how this is done, how in practice these hubs can help SMEs, what can SMEs get, how do SMEs benefit, and how EU Hubs for Data project can actually help SMEs to kickstart their work with digital innovation hubs, how this can support SMEs in working with our hub, but also getting additional funding. So all of it will be today. And we will start today with our digital innovation hubs. After this, we will have a short presentation of the additional EU funding that will be available there for SMEs to work with hubs. And finally, we will have two stories from SMEs that are already benefiting and that have tried hub services, and they will share their experience of how did it help to their business and how interested SMEs could apply. So we will start from the hubs that will explain a bit more of what we can offer and why. And first today is Denia Kanolopoulou, who is working in Greek AHED Digital Innovation Hub. And Denia is innovation services specialist in the hub. So Denia, tell us a little bit more about how you work with SMEs and how your hub could help them.
Good morning, Justina. Good morning, everyone. It's nice of you to invite us in this workshop, and we are really happy to share our experience and what we do in order to help SMEs in this effort. Should I share my screen?
Yes, please, Denia, go ahead.
Okay, so I represent here AHED, is the Attica Hub for the Economy of Data and Devices. AHED is a digital innovation hub which is operated by the National Center for Scientific Research Demokritos, which is the largest public research center in Greece, founded in 1961. The focus of the Digital Innovation Hub AHED is on artificial intelligence, big data, and Internet of Things. These technologies, we see them as horizontal enablers for the data-driven digital transformation and innovation of SMEs. How we do that? We have built an ecosystem of research and corporate entities that they have state-of-the-art know-how on these domains. And it consists at the moment of research labs of the research center, of incubated companies at the technology park that we have, which is called Lefkipos, and also industrial partners where we have built collaborations in the past or we are currently collaborating. We also build synergies with industrial and business stakeholders, also with associations of SMEs and industrial partners, and of course with universities and research centers based in Greece, but also abroad. AHED is also a coordinator of the Smart Attica Consortium for the European Digital Innovation Hubs, which will be now launched, and in the national pre-selection for the closed call, the European Digital Innovation Hubs, the Smart Attica proposal was ranked first. We are also, it's really important that we are part of European ecosystems, and here I'm naming the European Association for Artificial Intelligence, the Big Data Value Association, where we recently received the gold label recognition, of course, of the European Digital SME Alliance, of European research and innovation projects such as AI for EU, AI for Copernicus, EuroCC, the EU Hubs for Data, and also the DIH World, where the last two we recently joined through open calls. Which is our expertise regarding data-driven services. We have many years of expertise built on artificial intelligence, including machine learning, knowledge representation, and robotics, on multimodal analytics, including audiovisual machine learning, sensor data analytics, and speech analytics, on big data, from database federation, data integration, and homogenization. And we also have expertise in software engineering in order to help these state-of-the-art research results become products and services. Our main service areas are the test before invest. We are building testbeds and tools that will help SMEs experiment with new technologies or even test new technologies that are developing. We are building the testbeds inside the campus of NCSR Dimopitos, which is a really big campus inside the forest in Attica. And also with a collaboration we have built with Vodafone, we are building a private 5G network and IoT services in the campus. We are also acting as a one-stop shop, so we are trying to provide innovative solutions by combining the expertise of our partners and building complex products and services, facilitating then the exploitation of mature research results. And also we focus on consulting and training for SMEs and organizations that want to innovate or they want to digitally transform their business. And I don't want to take a lot of your time. I'm just explaining some of the services we are offering to SMEs through the EU Hubs for Data open call that will be launched and that we are going to be talking really soon. The first one is the AI training and consulting for a data-driven strategy. In the form of a two-day workshop, we are trying to enable businesses build a common language and understanding of the uses of artificial intelligence across their teams and disciplines. We help them integrate AI concepts and components into product development and adopt a data-driven strategy, which is ethical, secure, and legal by design. We help them during this workshop design and implement a successful AI roadmap. And also we outline with them some first quick win and value generating projects that address their business needs. We also provide a web content monitoring platform, which can be used for monitoring the public sentiment of a specified entity across events that are happening or generated or diffused in the web. And this can be news sources, Twitter comments, or comments through the Discuss platform and different websites. We visualize this information in dashboards, helping the user to extract data-driven insights and actionable knowledge. And this tool can be customized to address specific user or business needs, such as to measure the impact of a communication campaign, the impact of news posts that are related to a specific brand, or even measure customer or employee satisfaction. Another service that we offer is the design and implementation of components in cloud infrastructures. The design of these cloud-native applications follows the best practices on cybersecurity and on developing efficient cloud applications. We emphasize on integrating existing open source components and existing technologies that the client has in order to minimize the need for bespoke software and to satisfy the data processing requirements. And we incorporate technologies such as Docker, Kubernetes, Kafka, Hadoop, Spark, and also tools that we have developed in-house. Another service is the dynamic data integration. We can unify and present virtually present homogeneously the data sets that come from different sources. Indicative domains are meteo, agro, food, GIS, biomedical. And some example of applications is the modeling of dangerous substances dispersion, even pharmacological research. And the last service that we are going to offer through this open call is the autonomous navigation for mobile robots and UAVs. This includes pre-planning and reactive replanning in order to avoid obstacles that are dynamic in space and time. And this service can be also customized and adapted to accommodate the specific needs of the customers. Thank you very much for listening to that. I'm looking forward to discuss and have questions and answers in sessions in order to showcase in reality how AHEAD can help and also how digital innovation hubs can help SMEs through this journey.
Thank you very much, Dania. Thanks to you. And thank you for explaining how your hub can help the companies. We will get back to questions session immediately after Andrea's presentation. Meanwhile, if anyone in the audience has any questions, feel free to write them in the questions window. And later I will pass a word to you, or I will read the questions to our participants. So now we quickly jump to another presentation from Andrea Manzi. Andrea is representing EGI Hub, and he's also one of the partners in EU Hubs for Data project. And Andrea, you've been in the project longer than AHEAD's Hub. So you already have quite some experience here delivering services to SMEs and working with other hubs across Europe as well. So please tell us a little bit more about your experience working within Federation of the Hubs, of EU Hubs for Data, and how the project is helping you to work together with other hubs and deliver better services to SMEs. Andrea, you are muted. We cannot hear you.
Sorry, I'm not unmuted. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrea Manzi from the AGI Foundation and from Netherlands. We are, so I'm personally leading the work package 5 in EU Hubs for Data, so which is responsible for the federated data catalog in the project. So basically, in my case, I'm going to introduce a little bit the project because, just to understand, what we are developing, and then of course giving a little bit of background on the federation, the federated catalog, the offering to the different SMEs. So I'm going to share a little bit my screen. Can you see the screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thanks a lot. So basically, as I said before, I'm going to mainly focus on introducing the project and some achievements for after the first year of the project, because the project started in 2020, in September 2020, and then talk a little bit about the first project open call, and then the federation and the federated catalog. So as I said, it's a little bit different from the previous presentation when we discussed about, the specific digital innovation hub services. In this case, it's more like, introducing the project and what we are delivering after the first year of the project, basically. So I'm starting describing the apps for data project, which is a project started in 2020 with a duration of 40 months. We have 21 institution partners of the project coming from 12 different countries, coordinated by ITI in Spain, and with the budget of 12.5 million. The project basically, as already described before, as the main objective of creating a federation of European big data cross-border experimentation and innovation, and its main goal is also to create this pan-European catalog of services and data in order
Andrea,
to foster.
I'm so sorry to quickly interrupt you. Your presentation is somehow quite broken. Like we see half of a slide and half of a slide. Do you see it properly on your own? Yeah, maybe you can reshare the screen. Maybe that helps.
It works for me. I'm sorry, but I tested before and it was working fine. So I don't know why.
Try again to share from the slide what you were showing. From the same slide with all them.
Let me try.
Now it all looks good. Yes,
it's working fine.
The problem is that whenever you change the slide, it just changes half of it, but when we still see the first slide, maybe it would work if you don't do the full presentation mode, but we just see a little bit also on the side. I don't know if that helps.
I'm sorry. The first time that I'm using this tool, so it's a little bit...
It's strange because indeed before it worked.
I will try to not put full screen, okay?
Yeah, I think that could help because once you're not in full screen, we see it well.
Sorry. Can you see it now and not full screen?
Yes, now it's perfect.
I hope that, let me put it a little bit bigger. No. Okay. Okay, so I was here, so describing a little bit the objectives. Basically, we are going to so the project is, as I said, is going to build a federated catalog, pan-European federated catalog of data sources and services. The idea to foster a data-driven innovation at local and regional level. So I'm listed here the objectives that we're trying to achieve during this project. So contributing to the establishment of European data spaces. Of course, creation of innovative products and solution through data sharing and cross-boundary services. As we want to build a federation, of course, we would like to understand the model for the sustainability of the federation and this and evolution after the project is finished, because of course this is not an activity that is going to last only during the 40 months of the project, but we would like to continue, of course, building the federation after that. And of course, guaranteed the impact and visibility, disseminating the results and best practice, and collecting new necessities. And also identify, training and skills needs for the different stakeholders, because apart from the for the services and datasets catalog, we would like to also implement a training program and a training catalog as well. So the different dimensions of the project. So we can see a different level of an European and a regional dimension. So basically, we would like to build a federated catalog at European level, and also build a federation with a global process decision making. So basically, also European level. But of course, each digital innovation hub, a part of the federation, it will be independent and will offer the services regionally. And then, of course, it will make sure to access and adapt the different services and data sets that are available also from the other digital innovation apps to their local ecosystem. And then, of course, we have the dimension of the offer and the demand side. So we would like to from the offer side, we like to bring together services and data sets from different European initiatives, also using the results coming from different projects, in particular the one that from the BDVA PPP project. And then, particularly, we would like also implement interoperability models between the services and the data sets that are part of the federation and the data space, which I will talk about a little bit more later about how this we're trying to implement it based on the IDS reference architecture. And then on the demand side, of course, we would like to bring this after closer to the DIH ecosystem to support the regional SME and to provide also financial support during the project with funding, which basically we will describe later on about the open calls. The impact, just to summarize a little bit, the expected impact. So increase of the shared and use of the data assets that are made available through the catalog from the different DIHs, higher involvement of the SMEs and startup, and of course improve the service quality and the satisfaction, because of course we would like to have improved the data-driven processes and the business model developing through the SMEs engaged by the project, and improved also data skills, which is part of the training activities that we're also developing. So as I said before, we have reached 1 year of the project like in September, so with a little bit like more than 1 year that the project started. So after this first year, we have I'm going to list here some of the achieved KPIs. So the organization of some events which are quite relevant, so the Data Forum and the organization of Data Week 2021. We already performed the first call of experiments where 89 submitted proposals were evaluated. The first round of experiments already started in May, so 10 experiments started, and we also have the evaluation of extension of the federation. So basically, we prepared like a first call of a call for extension of the federation. We received like 25 proposals for the ages, and 18 had been selected. We had also developed the first and a second version of the federated catalog. Of course, there's been also a dissemination campaign with the different social media, establishment of more relevant initiative. Of course, from the project point of view, we had to also deliver quite a lot of amount of deliverables, like 31 so far. But we also started other aspects, for instance, working on the collaboration among the DIHs, the interoperability framework, the federated catalog, which also I will describe a little bit later, and activity also for the federation model, so defining for the long-term model for the federation, and how to select and incorporate new DIHs to it, and also create awareness, of course, about the federation. So this is just a little bit a recap of what happened during the first year of the project. A little bit of details. So basically, we during the project as KPI, we have a KPI defined related to the expansion of the federation. So initially, the project onboarded 12 DIHs, and with the call for expansions, which was held together with the BDVA Spaces call for labels in 2021. 20 and 18 new DIHs has been selected, and the first 9 and already have been on board during 2021, so starting from October. And then the remaining 9, which have been selected, are going to be included and onboarded in the project in middle of 2022. And we have, as I said before, we also have open calls for experiments and SME. So in total, we'll have 3 open calls with the participation of 42 selected experiments, and these are the numbers. So basically, 2.5 million euro for financial support and 3.3 million for support for DIHs. and basically, as said before, the impact for the impact for the experiments and for the DIHs is basically to attract end user to the assets of the federation, and of course foster the collaboration among the DIHs of the federation, and improve the user satisfaction, the joint service delivery, and with the final goal of create European common data spaces. The first goal of experiments, as I said before, is we have like 10 experiments selected during the first call. Some of them will be presented later on during this morning, and this I put here just a graph describing the proposal by country. Of course, we have like initially we had quite more DIHs from Spain, so in Spain is quite on the top of the graph, and these experiments, as I said, started during this year. We had already done a first review in September 2021, and the final review will happen in January 2022. And one important thing is that most of the experiments will also generate datasets during the execution, and we have the outcomes of the execution of the experiments will also be included in our catalog if when possible. So we will expand, the offering also from the execution of the experiment. Regarding the catalog, the federation, so we have established. So the idea, of course, as I said, is to establish a federation of data-driven innovation apps, which will last. Of course, after the project ends, and there is a particular work package inside the project, which is this dealing with this. So define a model of governance, organization expansion, and sustainability. And we would like to. So the activities that are mainly developed during the project will be to define the roadmap and book for the different DIHs, the code of conduct. So the first step of the federation, which will happen during the execution of the project. And then lastly, I'm going to define a little bit what is the offering, so the federated catalog. So as I said before, the idea is to build a federated catalog which is European and federated and instantiated at the regional level. And at the moment, we have a catalog available on our website of dataset and services. And I will put some screenshot of different of what you will find on the catalog of for instance, this is the catalog of services. At the moment, we have 90 services which are available on the catalog. We still have to include all the services which are coming from the 9 DIHs that have recently joined the catalog. So before the next open call, these numbers will go up. And the services are defined and categorized in different areas. So we have like a service for AI analytics and technology, as in the area of business development and ecosystem building, and some pure technological infrastructure access. And also training and technology consultancies. And then we have the catalog of datasets at the moment, data sources. As I said before, this will be also extended with the offering of the 9 new DIHs, which are joining the project now. And we are also developing ways of synchronizing and automatically build this catalog from the offering of the different DIH. So this is just a diagram of what is under development. So basically, agent which will allow each DIH to define the local offering in terms of datasets and services, and this will be synchronized with the rest of the DIHs which are forming the ecosystem. And on their side, other technical activity which we are working on is related to the building of the data space, is the interoperability. So we would like to, of course, being a federation, to have possibility to build interoperable services and also have interoperability at the level of the data sets and data governance. Everything is based on the IDS reference models. This is something that has been driven by IDSA and TNO, which are two partners that are two partners of the project, and they're leading these specific activities. And the idea is to increase the level of the interoperability between the services of the federation during the execution of the experiments. For the first open call, for instance, we have identified some milestones that should be addressed. For instance, the execution of the data sharing and access of during the experiments based on IDS connector. And the focus on the first open call will be to publish experiments outcomes via IDS connectors. While for the and then based on the level of integration and maturity of the solution that would be developed during the open call 1, we will also decide a target for the open call 2, which is starting in next month. Other activities related to this data space. So we would like to test other reference models on data sharing interoperability. So now, as I said, we started with the IDS, but of course we would like also to test the other reference architecture if possible. We would like also to establish connection with our initiatives, and then given the importance at European level, we would like to align this. We like to align our project with GAIA-X, so the architecture and the challenges and how to address them. So in terms of data sovereignty, portability, interoperability, and so on. And lastly, just to mention that we also have, as I said before, a training catalog, which is not available yet on our website, but it's soon will be published, which will contain more than 90 courses offered by the different DIHs. But some DIHs already started the training programs in September. So I listed here the ones that already saw from ITI, Cineca, and Eurocat. And but soon this training catalog will be available on the website. And yeah, that was my last slide. Thanks
Thank you very much, Andrea. Thank you so much. It was very, very interesting presentation, and good to understand the scale and the amount of work you've been doing for the companies and the offer. It's really cool. Now I remind that you can ask questions in the questions tab. And we have one question asking both innovation hubs about examples of some businesses with which you worked and where you helped to transform businesses. So we will, of course, have two SME stories in the second part of our webinar. But perhaps, Andrea or Denia, you would like to share some inspiring story or something, how did you actually work with company and their company actually came out a better version of itself after your services?
Yes, can I go on?
Sure, yeah, please.
Yeah. So for the particular open call, the one so AGI has been selected to participate in 2 experiments, and one of them it's related to IoT and basically cybersecurity in IoT. So basically, they would like to develop a framework in order to understand what are if there are like vulnerabilities in the framework that are part of IoT devices. And in this particular experiments, of course, we are not alone. We have also collaborated with different DIHs. We have, so from our point of view, we have developed, we have helped the SME to deploy the service in our cloud infrastructure, because AGI also provide the cloud services. So they needed also, of course, quite amount of resources in order to test their solution. And from the other side, other DIHs participating to the project are helping them to define their business model, and in order to understand how they can go on the market. So we have like help them scaling their solution, so providing them cloud resources, cloud infrastructure, which they could not easily have access. And also from the other side, the other DIHs are providing the help in order to define the business model and for the product that they are developing.
Okay, that sounds very interesting. Denia, do you have some story to share?
A lot of stories. I can start with one that was really that had an impact on how we built our strategy. Because sometimes you have built a strategy, but then there are things happening, and through the communication you have to you are given some insights on how to work with companies. So we're discussing with a large organization in Greece, and we had 1 year of talking with them on how we could work together and how they could innovate in order to, as a big organization, they had a lot of processes and a lot of bureaucracy that they had to deal with, a lot of different teams with different expertise and different needs and priorities. And after talking with them, after a lot of sessions, we managed to formulate all this into a workshop that then we replicated, and we've done it with more companies, not only large organizations, but also with startups. And what was this all about? It was what I had before described in the AI workshop that we do, is that we sit all together and we bring people from different groups and different departments, and we try to align, first of all, in terms of language we speak, what we expect when we hear that we are going to have a data-driven strategy, what does it mean to have artificial intelligence tools deployed inside the company. And what do we need from different departments in terms of data, in terms of resources, in terms of legal aspects. And this sitting all together and aligning the priorities and expectations, it helped build a strategy for what is going to happen next. And this could mean that it changes from company to company, but what we try to do is to have an open mind and try to build new synergies and new ways of collaboration. If the company needs to deploy something by themselves and to build their capacity, we can help them in the first steps by providing some consulting sessions, some work in order to support them. And it's fantastic to know that such a large organization that was technologically in this field, they were not operating in that field of artificial intelligence, and they managed to build by themselves in-house a question answering system and ontologies and a chatbot in order to, and the whole company is using it because it's a question answering system that is for employees to facilitate them in internal processes. And that's fantastic. And in some other cases, it might be that there is the need for different tools coming from different companies. And as a digital innovation hub, we try to provide this ecosystem and try to guide companies on how to choose services that are coming from different partners and how to orchestrate these services to make them work together and achieve something that will have an impact and that, of course, will address the business needs that the company has.
Wow, this is also a very impressive example, Dania, indeed. If anyone from attendees today would like to also, get this type of advice and this type of services or any of the other ones that you presented before, do you have any suggestions to them, given that they might be interested to apply to the open call? Any advice? What should they think about? What should they do? Maybe some nice words to encourage them to actually come to you and get this level of services. From your side, then, also from you, Andrea.
What I would suggest is that they get together with people from other groups and other departments and start to discuss and build some solid use cases so that they can come up with the use cases and we can help them make these use cases translate these use cases into solutions and build a roadmap and have in mind how these use cases will be exploited and how these use cases will bring impact. And I would also suggest is for companies to seek for business and tech support. It's really useful to combine consulting with product development and to have these services support them in the whole path.
Yes, I will also to add that it's important, of course, to if you have an idea of experiments that you would like to execute, and of course, I would like to apply for the open call, which will be presented shortly. I advise also to, of course, have a look at the catalog of services and the datasets that are available on the project website, and also try to contact if you have in mind some particular services that you would like to apply to, try to also to contact us beforehand to apply, so we can also discuss if you're if you imagine that you would like to use one service from AGI. In my case, you can also contact directly us. We have the contact on the website in order to understand if what the idea, the experiments that you have in mind could fit, and could and according to us could be selected during the first open call. So try to also understand the dimensioning of the service, if you want to use some resources, if the resources that you would like to use fit the budget that is part of the open call. So I suggest also to contact prior DIH that you would like to engage with before applying. This is my suggestion.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, Denia. I think this is already a very useful advice. And now we will have James presenting the actual open call, so that companies could learn how to really apply and what we can do next. Unless, Andrea or Denia, you have any last words to add? No? Okay, then I present James Philpott, my colleague, who will explain to the companies, so how can you apply and how can you get funded to work with digital innovation hubs. James, floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Justina, and good morning, everyone. I'll just share my screen. Okay, so just quickly to explain a bit about why we are doing these open calls, why the project is running this. As Andrea mentioned, it's to bring awareness about the federation and the catalog, but more than that, it's to really validate the concept of this federated catalog of services, to prove that it can work and it can be a valuable tool for SMEs in Europe. So that's why we're involving SMEs and bringing them in to test the concept. So first, some general information about the open call. So essentially, it is financial support. So the budget for the call is 840,000 euros, and this will be granted to 14 different proposals. So there'll be 14 experiments funded in this round, which means that there will be 60,000 euros each, and this is funded at a flat rate. What the project offers for this experiment is the technical support. So the use of the services and the data sets included in the catalog, the training and coaching that's available through the DIHs. And this support is actually valued at 70,000 euros. This is separate to the 60,000 euro budget, so you don't need to worry about that. But you can see that actually this support is very valuable. And the timeline, practically, the open call, the application process will begin on the 1st of December 2021 and will be open until the 1st of February. Then there's a 3-month evaluation period until the beginning of May 2022, when the experiments will then start, and they will run for 9 months until February 2023. So when I say experiments, what are we looking for and what do we offer for this? Essentially, experiments are trials of a product or a service that use the assets of the federation to develop this product or this service, which will result in a final product that is presented as a key exploitable result. So it's very close to the market. And thirdly, the other consideration is that this experiment has to contribute to the creation of European common data spaces. So Andrea mentioned this, and this is something that the Commission is very focused on. They identified this in their data strategy they released a little while ago. And while we're not expecting you to have read through this, there is information available in the guidelines, and there is support available to help you understand how your experiment will contribute to this. And this is one of the outcomes we are looking for as part of the experiments. So when I say experiment, what we're expecting through these open calls, perhaps we can kind of look at the outcomes and sort of work backwards. So the idea is that through working with the federated catalog and working through the DIHs, the SMEs that are granted the funding will use the services available to develop an innovative service, product, or solution that is based on data innovation and is tested through experimentation with the services on offer. The final product will have a high TRL, is expected to be very close to market. So that's why it's presented as the key exploitable result of the experiment. To give you an idea, we aren't mentioning specific TRLs in the guidelines, but it's kind of a TRL of lower than 8 would be very low for what we're expecting here. And finally, we would hope and we are expecting that the final solution or the service or product that's been made would have an impact in the portfolio of your organization, so that there is business or exploitation avenues available for the final result. So what are we offering to help you achieve this? There is access to the assets available in the foundation, the federation rather, which is mainly to do with big data. And you also have the data sets that are available, and you have support to use these. There is technical and business coaching and support offered by the DIHs. So when you select the services in your application, you will then be working with the relevant DIH that offers that service to be able to apply that to your product in your experiment. One of the DIHs you select will actually be your coach. So they'll help you throughout the entire duration of the experiment. And they'll also be monitoring the progress. They'll be reviewing the different tasks and the milestones and checking achievement against the targets that are set out in the application. We also offer training to improve your digital and business skills. And so these are the trainings that are mentioned by Andrea before as well. These are available for your staff. Of course, we also offer the funding to undertake this experiment. So as mentioned, that's a 60,000 euro grant, which is granted against the accomplishment of the objectives that are set out. We also offer visibility and promotion. So the chance to take part in the events that the project is organizing, but also engage in the other members of the federation and the wider network. So for example, there's very close relationship with the BDVA and also with digital SMEs. So there's an opportunity to meet here and promote yourselves. And finally, one of the results of the project will be an exploitation plan. So you'll have support from the DIHs to plan the exploitation of the experiment results. And that's why we're expecting very mature results so that they are ready to exploit on the market. So we can look a little bit closer about the assets that are available. So these are available online. You can already go and see the catalog at this link. And the idea is that the experiments will involve between 2 and 5 services from the catalog that are offered by at least 2 different DIHs, and one of which has to be based in a country different to your country of registering. Something that will be assessed is how you've selected the services. So this is what we call appropriate dimensioning. So we would like to see that the services that are selected are complementary, so that the use of them as a whole creates a more advanced service, that they are relevant to the service or the product that you are creating, and they can contribute to developing that further. And finally, that the use of resources for these services is manageable. So as mentioned, the technical support will be valued at 70,000 euros. And so it's important to ensure that your combination of services and data sets does not exceed this. And this is required to make it feasible for the DIHs to offer this service. So that's something that we'll also be checking in the eligibility stage, is to make sure that the resources that you've identified as using are feasible. We also have data sets available through the catalog. and you can either use one of these data sets or more, or you can use your own. But it's important that your experiment includes the use of at least one data set. The data sets from the project are public or semi-public, have been cleaned and structured, and you will have the support of the DIHs to manage the data sets if that's needed. So due to this, due to the selection of the services and of the data sets, as both Andrea and Denia mentioned, we think it's really useful for your application if you begin to browse these as soon as possible and get in contact with the DIHs that offer them, so they can discuss with you the feasibility, the relevance, how you can best use that service that they offer to improve your product. So this is something that will really help to make a strong application. Now, to talk a bit about the application process and what you'll encounter there, once the call opens, these are the steps that we recommend. So there are several documents online that I'll explain further. But firstly, it's important to download these documents, read through them, understand them, because they govern how the application works, how the funding works. They explain what we're looking for within the application, and they also offer advice as to how to apply. So reading these and understanding these will give you a very strong start, and we're available for any help. If you want clarification on any parts, we're available to discuss this with you. Then it's important to make sure you have your account available and ready on the submission platform, because you have to apply online. So you can fill in the template offline, but the answers and the documents all need to be uploaded onto the submission platform. And you need to make sure, of course, that you submit all the relevant documents and answer all the needed questions before the deadline. That's something that it sounds very obvious, but we need to stress this because there have been submissions sent late and they cannot be counted. So to talk a bit about the documents that you'll find, the main document and the most important document is the guideline for applicants. So this defines all aspects of the application process. It sets out the kind of core conditions and the technical information, but also the content related information. So what we're expecting you to include in your experiment, what we want you to explain. It has some advice on how to structure your application and considerations that you should answer during your application, and also how to best apply. There is also the sub-grant agreement template. So this is signed by the coordinator and any beneficiaries, and this establishes the legal agreement that enables the funding. And as this is an EU-funded project, this is obviously very, very important. It has all the legal provisions and kind of ethical considerations as well. So if you don't understand part of this, please do reach out and ask for any help, because it's very important that this document is signed, and without it, we can't establish the funding agreement. There are also documents that will be filled in by the applicants. So the application form itself is, of course, the main one. And although submission of this is done online, there's a template available so you can work on this online. The first section is administrative, so it's who you are, where you're registered. This isn't included in the evaluation, but it's required that all the parts are answered, because without it, we cannot complete the grant. And then the content-based questions are organized in 3 main sections. And this is where you describe your experiment. And these are the excellence, impact, and implementation sections. So excellence is why your product or service is valuable and innovative, how close it is to the market, what data sets could be generated through it. The impact section is where you describe the key results that you're expecting, how well aligned to market needs and user requirements your product would be, what the added value is compared to competitors, and its potential for growth and scale up. And then finally, implementation is where the work plan is included, where you talk about your team and your expertise, the milestones and performance indicators that will be used to measure the progress. During the evaluation, all of these sections will be equally weighted, and it's important to note that not all questions in this section are mandatory. The questions are marked online, but optional questions can be answered to help develop your answers. On the submission platform, there is also a description of the expected answers, points to include in your response to guide you through each question. The declaration of honor, this is done online, and this is a tick box that you use to agree with the fact that you understand accept all of the core conditions. And then the declaration of ethics compliance is a questionnaire which allows you to declare your compliance with the ethics of the experiment. Finally, there is one additional document that will only apply if the applicants are a group of web entrepreneurs. So if this application is selected, this group has to commit to register as an SME in an eligible country. So the template for this commitment is available in the documentation. And of course, if you are already established as an SME, it's not required that you upload this document. So this is only if you are a group of individuals creating a combined application. So some advice for writing a good proposal: it's important to prepare early. So decide the topic of your experiment early. There's time needed to think about how your experiment can be unique, what's innovative about it, to also map out your ambitions and what you hope to achieve by the end of the 9 months, as well as a clear path to market. And so as part of this, beginning discussing with the DIHs as soon as you can is something that really helps with this. Understanding all of the documents, all of the requirements, all of the conditions is very, very important as well. So take some time to review each of the documents, the application form, understand what is expected of you, and if there are any uncertainties, do feel free to ask. That's something that's really important. We're available to help, and we can explain any parts that may not be clear. Explaining the context of the experiment is very, very important. So give some background, the current scenario, what the expected outcome is. As we mentioned earlier, how it will contribute to the expansion of European data spaces is important, and there's guidelines available for this, and also the alignment with the market scenario. So how your product will answer the user needs, what customer requirements you have identified, and the unique selling points. Defining these really clearly is important. Making sure that your experiment is not overly ambitious. So think on what can be managed in 9 months, and what the impact will be and how you will measure this. And finally, 2 points that are very important is to try and think as an evaluator. So the evaluation criteria are available in the guidelines. So you can use this to understand how the application will be assessed. And so make sure that your answers correspond to the evaluation criteria. And something that is important to note here, and it relates to explaining the context, is that the evaluators, they will only read your application and no other sources. So if you need to reference something or you have information from other documents, it's important to include that in your application, because they won't be reading externally. So make sure that your application explains all the relevant information that's needed. Also, we can share with you some errors that we think it's important to avoid, and it may be obvious, but don't miss the deadline. As I mentioned, the application will be shut, and we can't, on the 1st of February, and we can't accept applications after this date. So this means not just the form needs to be completed, but the documents that need to be uploaded as well need to be there using the correct templates. And if this isn't done, we can't accept the application. For the excellence section, a lack of clear explanations of the concept, the value, and the innovation can really hinder a good application. So don't assume that the evaluators will know the specific context of your experiment, and focus on the innovation potential and the innovation that you've already demonstrated with your product. For the impact section, this one is important that the ambition is realistic and also sufficiently quantified. So we want to have ambitious experiments, but we need to see how these will be supported by actions. So applications that don't link to the maturity already of the product or service, or don't identify the actions that will help achieve this ambition, are going to be scored less highly. And these are ways that you can kind of demonstrate the feasibility, is to link to the product or the maturity already, link to current activities that you undertake or business opportunities that you already have with the product. And so this can help explain in the impact section. quantifying the performance of the product or the service and how the experiment can impact that can also be a really good way of demonstrating the impact of your experiment. And using figures or percentages, a comparison to the state of the art or your competition is something that can help in this section as well. And an error that we notice quite frequently is that there'll be no link between the activities set out in the plan and the impact that they will have. So make sure that these two things are connected and are used to demonstrate how you will achieve your impact. And finally, for the implementation section, not having a realistic or convincing work plan is going to hinder your application. So you need to demonstrate that the results can be achieved in 9 months. And so defining appropriate performance indicators and deliverables to measure and demonstrate your progress will definitely help here. And also not showing that you have the necessary expertise to achieve the results also is a problem we've seen. So you can demonstrate your experience and best practices that you have from your previous work. You can show off the skills of your team and talk a lot about them to show that you can achieve the results that you've identified. And so for the next steps and further information, the launch of the call will be the 1st of December. You can keep an eye up to date on all of this through the EU Hubs for Data website. Once the call is open, the guidelines and all documentation will be available, and there'll be also 2 more webinars that will be hosted in December and January to provide more information on this as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask or get in contact with us either via this address or my email as well, which I'll put in the chat in a moment. So thank you very much, everyone. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions for James about the open call? James, a question from my side. Could you perhaps put in the chat the link where people could find more information as well? We will, of course, send the presentations and the recording to all the participants, but perhaps just to be sure. And we have one question from Linda Steedman. Can UK companies apply?
That is a good question. I think they can because it's Horizon 2020, and so the UK still included that.
Yeah, I have the same opinion. It's because it was the project was signed before the UK Brexited, so usually it should be fine. We have a long question in the chat from Lorenzo from IDCERT. Actually, it's not a question. It's a short presentation of IDCERT. Okay, thank you for sharing with us, Lorenzo. You can also drop the link. Perhaps somebody would be interested. And also, if you work on digital skills, I think in EU Hubs for Data, we have also quite some interesting information. So follow EU Hubs for Data as well, because we will have some trainings. So you might be interested to also browse our catalog, which Andrea actually talked about before. Any more questions? No? All right. Then I guess we can go to the last and perhaps also very, very exciting and the most exciting part of our today's event, which is with some stories from SMEs that already participated in open call in the past. So the same call as James presented, just the first call. And they already received some services from Digital Innovation Hubs. We are currently working with them. And here we have 2 companies. We will start Kirill with you, with Kirill Blashko, who is a tech entrepreneur, and he's working as a CEO of Tunnel at the moment. So Kirill, could you tell us a little bit about the experiment that you are doing and how Digital Innovation Hubs have helped you and how EU Hubs for Data project has been supporting you in your experiment and what you are doing?
Yeah, thanks, Justina. Good morning, everyone. Happy to see so many people here. Can I share the slides?
We cannot see your screen yet, Kirill. Are you trying to share?
Yes, trying to share now.
And also your microphone is quite low. I see your screen now. I don't know if you could speak a bit louder.
I'll try. No problem. So I think I have something like 10 minutes, right?
Kirill, we still hear you really bad. I don't know if you're speaking to your headphones microphone or maybe some other one, because we hear you very, very...
Can you hear me now?
No, it's very silent. I can hear you, but it sounds from quite far.
How's it now?
Much better. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yes, so I hope you see the slides.
We can see them well.
I will. Yes, so I'll talk a little bit about the experience of both applying for the program and taking part in the program, and of course, I'm pretty sure from the side of the applicants from the SMEs and startups, probably the most interesting thing would be is how to actually get into the program and how to complete the project. So I looked into it and I thought that probably the audience today would not be very much interested in boring details about our company and our SME and what we're doing. So what they're interested in is how to apply and how to get accepted. So I'll just give a very quick sentence about what we do. It's tunnel. We do public transportation for small towns where public transportation doesn't exist. And the whole thing is data driven. We use a lot of data sets and we operate on big data, and we get support from 3 digital hubs in the EU Hubs for Data project. And we have already passed the midterm review and going further. But as I have mentioned, the goal of my quick talk today is to actually try to demonstrate some ideas on how to make the application successful. The thing that James just mentioned, how to take a look into it from the point of view evaluator, the key performance indicator, the key exploitable results, and how to actually to achieve that. And from this point of view, I would like to share my experience and the experience of my team in terms of managing the project and not just developing something, because all SMEs, they work on different things. It can be some data-driven ideas for the medical, for the IoT, for different areas. But what they do share in common is how they organize in those projects. So first of all, I would like to mention that in general, all the applicants and including us, we are not companies that consist of programs and robots. So it's all done by people. And it is very important, therefore, to take into account that there will be a lot of human communication. And that human communication will happen inside your team when you prepare the application to apply for the EU Hubs for Data. It will happen when you process the application, and it will happen when you get accepted in the project. And moreover, their human communication will be vital and essential during the whole term, all those 9 months of this data-driven project. The important thing to understand here is that in general, all the communication that will be done doesn't depend on the medium. It can be the video call like we're doing now. It could be all these group chats, Slack, Microsoft Teams, emails. Maybe you're sitting in the same office. It could be the talks. But the most important thing is that all these are messages. And we believe it's quite fundamental to organizing for any project similar to Hubs for Data and the SMEs. It is very important to understand that anything that you communicate to your colleagues or you communicate to the DIHs, to the digital hubs, or you get as a communication back is just a message. And when planning for the project, these messages and the amount of the messages shall be taken into account. And the amount of messages can actually influence on how much time you will have to actually work on the project. Because if you get too much, if you get too many messages from your colleagues, if you get too many messages from the project itself, from the DIHs, from your coaching digital hub, you might end up just reading emails and chats and having calls all day long. But as James mentioned in his talk, it is very important that by the end of month 9, you actually have some tangible results, some deliverable, something that can be completed. So in this case, we believe that it's quite important to look at your team, the team that is applying for the project, as a team that consists of people who are, let's say, doers, people who actually do some work. They work on IoT, they work on data, they are engineers, they are researchers, and people who are actually managing stuff. These roles, of course, can be shared within the team by the same persons, but it is important to understand that these roles are very different in how you shall allocate time on them. And for the people who are doing the managing thing, it turns out that the daily job of theirs, the main thing that they actually do is processing messages that they receive. So just reading the group chats, reading the emails, reading the Microsoft Teams updates and having video calls is a part of their job. And this, of course, shall be taken into account when planning for the project. And the important thing is that there is no way to actually overcome this if you are a manager, or if you are assigned a manager's role in the project that you are applying with. You can have all the cool tools, video calls, virtual meetings and whatnot, but the most important thing is that our brains didn't change very much since many thousand years. So you still would have to actually read or listen to messages or listen to people and process that. It takes time. And of course, it will take time from the time that was allocated for your project. So when planning, speaking exactly about the projects, you need to understand that actually maybe adding more people to your team when applying might be not the best idea, because the amount of messages, the amount of communication that you would need to accept and you would need to process from your colleagues will grow linearly with the size of the team. So basically, let's say it takes 10 minutes to process one message for you as a project lead. That means if you have 4 other people working with you, you would have to spend 40 minutes just to read one message from every person. That's a lot. And there is another problem. It is that if you grow the team for a too big size, it might become unmanageable, because on one side, you might want to look what they're doing. That means also reading and listening and viewing their messages, the messages that they send to each other. And of course, you would want to make sure that the tasks that you assign to them are implemented correctly. So of course, you want to check out the results. And if you as a manager do not actually read and check everything that your team members do, that means that your whole project and your organization is just a black box. So you don't know what's happening inside, and you don't know what would be the output, which is vital, of course, to the project. So one solution could be, of course, to just keep yourself online all the time. For example, if you have a group chat, Slack, or a mailing list, read every single piece of information, be updated on every point, on every task. But in that case, there is this fundamental property of any human team that it is inevitable, and you cannot change that. The bigger the team, the more messages you would need to process. So it's not 4 messages anymore in case of 4 people, but it can be 20. It's just simple graph theory, math. The more people you add to the team and the more you want to control and monitor what they are doing, the more time you will spend just processing the messages and not doing the actual work. So I'm not giving and pushing with any advice on how it is best to solve the issue, but the recommendation would be maybe to think about actually keeping things small and automating. So when we're speaking about this actual open call, hubs for data, maybe doing something, considering doing some things that could be automated, not assigning it to people, because it would be easier. You just do it yourself with the help of automation. Probably vital to have a smaller team. So adding more people to the team will not help to convince the evaluators, will not help to actually deliver what you've promised. And at the end, there shall be a key exploitable result delivered. So adding more people would just put more pressure on the project lead, and that's it. It doesn't guarantee that the things will be delivered. And maybe the recommendation also would be is to think in terms of the time that is spent on actually implementing the work packages, the things that lead to reaching the target KPIs and reaching and delivering the key exploitable result. And when you add those people and when you assign tasks to them, when you're planning before the application, during the application, and when actually implementing the project, the important thing to take into account is that the more people are assigned to the tasks and the more people are doing tasks, the more human communication costs the whole project would incur. That means that the project lead would need to take time to actually read all this and coordinate all this. So as a summary, try to keep things smaller. That's it from my side. Thank you. I would be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Kirill. Thank you very, very, very much for your presentation, and especially for very well illustrated and inspiring advice. I'm pretty sure we will have a few questions, but let's let first Debolina Paul, your colleague from DIHs, to present how her experience with hubs for data and what her company has been doing in experiment, and then we will jump to the questions. Debolina, shall I try to share your slides?
Sure. Am I audible?
Okay, give us 1 second.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes, we can hear you super well.
Okay, great.
Here you are.
Okay. Thank you, Justina, for having me here today. So running or working in a startup or SME is definitely a rewarding experience, but it is also overwhelming at the same time. Many of you probably can relate it to this fact from the audience from here as well. You might have an innovative idea to solve a unique problem. I'll tell you. Justina, I'll tell you to change. Yeah. Thanks.
Sure. Oops.
Yeah, thanks. So you probably have So you might have an innovative idea to solve a unique problem or customer pain point, but you might not have an advanced digital infrastructure to access to funding, for example. You probably have a core expertise in some areas, but missing few skill sets to have a holistic approach to commercialize the product to the market. And here comes DIH, Digital Innovation Hub, as a savior. DIH provides access to cutting-edge technical expertise, pilot infrastructure, and functioning as one-stop shops for market analysis, disrupting business model development, investment roadmap building, and commercial ecosystem creation to transform Europe into a data economy. Hello, everybody. This is Debolina, business developer in DIHs. Next, please. DIHs has started its journey in 2018 in Tallinn, Estonia. It's a fast-growing SME that accelerates secure digital transformation with a cloud-based solution. Our product, Paradise IoT platform, is based on these technical pillars. Our core expertise consists of cybersecurity, Internet of Things, standardization, what we complement with other technologies like artificial intelligence, mobile application, blockchain, etc. Now that I told you about our platform, let me explain how we are using data in our business offering. In our business offering, it is centered around data security, privacy, trust, because digital transformation requires data governance, privacy, sovereignty, etc. DigiTech's main expertise includes state-of-the-art cybersecurity measures, multi-factor authentication, role-based access control, secure storage, secure backup for data protection, data privacy in our own cloud-based Paradise platform, ensuring data integrity, encryption at rest, and secure communication, enabling data governance. Definitely, we always focus in GDPR compliance. We have developed these tools and tested in a previous project named Fit for Fire. Actually, we are involved in different European projects and providing data-driven decision support system and technical expertise as well. We are currently active in 4 industrial sectors where we are engaged with our commercial product or R&D solution. These industries are digital healthcare, agri-food, smart manufacturing and logistics, and smart city. Next, please. Have a look at this picture. I'm sure you're familiar with this. So this kind of situation are going on in today's world. When we go to the supermarket, we tend to buy fruits and vegetables that are in good condition or in good shape or looks fresh. So ugly food with good nutrition value are thrown out. Also, we are living in a society where junk food is really inexpensive, whereas nutritious foods and vegetables cost much higher. Obviously, we waste them, so it becomes higher. Next, please. So we dream for a better tomorrow where we are gonna reverse this trend and introduce circular economic practices in the food value chain. We plan to do it in 3 steps: reducing food loss and waste by at least 50% through food transformation, bringing people closer to inexpensive, healthy food, enabling a socially, environmentally responsible generation. Also encouraging the growth of local businesses in agri-food sector by creating more jobs. The impact of these steps will be enormous in the long run. For example, saving 100K meals per day and more than 10 million ton food waste by 2023. Also reducing greenhouse gas emission by 10% from food waste landfills by 2023 and more. Next. So EU Hubs for Data funded project Ontario is creating now multiple solutions. One of them is this digital marketplace for removing food loss and waste. If we take a hard look at today's world, we find out that a limited agricultural land must support the ever-increasing population. Also, water is becoming a scarce resource as well. On the other hand, 1/3 of the food produced is wasted and ends up in landfill, producing greenhouse gases that are harmful to both humans and environment. In the project Ontario, we will solve this issue using a secure, trustworthy online marketplace which enables repurposing food that would otherwise be wasted. It will bring numerous social economic benefits to the European cities, which is an important part of European Green Deal. I chose to present this solution amongst all because the marketplace has achieved a high TRL and we have prioritized it because we plan to commercialize it by early 2022. It introduces several technical innovations, including managed data lake, microservice-based architecture, blockchain-based food tracing capabilities, and advanced cybersecurity, data privacy, and data protection. Now, I will discuss how we have engaged with 3 DIH in this project. The first DIH I will be talking about is No Center from Graz, Austria. In the project Ontario, they helped us to develop a data-driven business strategy. After analyzing the value discipline and AI maturity assessment of the company, they supported us to understand all the macro and micro trends in the industry and develop a coherent data-driven business model. Also, one important aspect was the competitive analysis. Since No Center is based in Graz, they helped us to understand the food ecosystem in Austria and Europe in general. Together, we found out a lot of commercial and non-commercial similar business or non-profit initiatives in Austria and in Europe. They also supported in market analysis, especially understanding the consumer trend and market size in Austria. Sorry, I forgot to tell you that the next slide. Yeah, so we basically first worked with No Center Austria, and what I discussed that first they basically helped us to develop a data-driven business strategy. Next, please. During a day workshop, I visited No Center face-to-face. It was an amazing experience and super productive day for both of us. We thoroughly discussed the business model and go-to-market strategy for our newly built marketplace for Austria. We have also outlined a two-sided business model for both B2B and B2C market, and we discussed what should be started first. We focused on the value proposition, unique selling point, customers, cost analysis, revenue break-even, and so on. We have decided that we will initially start with a B2B model in Austria, and our customers will be mostly farmers, food processor, HoReCa sector, and then gradually it will be made operational for private citizens as well. Then we will replicate it further in Tallinn and other European cities. Next, please. Coming to the technical side, IMT Terra Lab was the main point of contact between Digitech and UHubs for Data. It provided us high-performance computing infrastructure for software component testing and validation purposes. It was extremely helpful to test and validate our software component, as you can imagine how expensive can be those infrastructures for SMEs. They also provided a software repository, which was again immensely helpful for large and complex development. Next, please. Next. Yes. Third DIH was Data Cycle Hub ITI Spain, that has provided access to computing infrastructure for data science, machine learning, and big data. For example, tools like Jupyter, Spark, etc. Next. Before that, sorry. Yes. Now I will conclude with few advices for the future applicants from our experience. First of all, always respect the deadlines for all deliverables. Try to submit everything before the deadline. Sometimes technical issues can happen, so it's always better to submit before. Next is your innovative idea should be in the scope of open call, obviously, otherwise what's the point? Next is work plan should be proportionate to the budget. Then you will have a higher chance to obtain the funding. Also, the last one, it's very important, is depending on the call, you must have a team expertise on the topic. And it is always good to have a team, what we call in agile development, a self-sufficient team. this is it. Thank you very much. And these are our experience in a nutshell. Thank you. And you can always get in touch with me. Here is my emails and everything.
Thank you, Debolina. We will share all the presentations with all the registered participants, so they will have your contacts. If you want, you can also drop it in the chat. Now, everyone in the audience is welcome to ask questions if you want to know more about the SME experience with the open call. Meanwhile, I have a question to you, Debolina. Let's start with you. So what's your advice? Because we've heard a lot from Kirill, like practical advice for SMEs that want to apply. From your perspective, from everything you presented here, your work with Hub, what would be your advice to the companies?
Yes. So as I explained that it's very important to be punctual to the deadline. It's very important to have a team expertise for the open call. So you have a topic on data. So you must have a data scientist or it really depends on the project or the topic, let's say. So you must have someone in your team who can take care of that because we have points on that too. And then, yes, this is very important that when you write your work plan, it should be proportionate to the budget that will be given. Then you will have a higher chance to obtain the funding, obviously. And then, yes, your idea should be always inside the scope of the project.
And then another question I have to actually both of you, so to you and to Kirill as well. Have you used Digital Innovation Hub services before, or was it your first time?
Well, for us, in DigiTech, before the project, no. But yes, definitely we would love to engage with them.
Okay. Kirill, what about you?
I would say didn't use any before applying, before getting into the project, but the services that we do use now, they are provided in a similar manner, like it is provided by private operators for data infrastructure. So in fact, I would say it would be if you are looking into applying the digital services.
Kirill, we are losing you. We are again a bit losing your sound. It could be that you have noise detection on, and it's automatically muting you a bit.
Is it working now?
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. If you can repeat the last one or two sentences.
Yeah, actually the benefit if you already know how to use some data service from private companies, let's say Amazon, Azure, Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, Linode, DigitalOcean. That's an actually an extra advantage that it is given to your team, because when you come to the digital hub, you talk to them and you easily understand each other, because you say, okay, I need this and that. They have it. Most probably they will provide it. When they provide it, you already know how to use it. So it's something not like a super new experience. So you don't waste time on learning things. Don't waste time on reading manuals. It's just up and go, and you are up and running, and your experiments are already running somewhere in the cloud of the digital hub. So the previous experience is a good thing to do.
So you would recommend to use it to someone else? Those. Whoa, we are collapsing here. It's okay. So the recommendation is to definitely go and try and to use the services. Is that what you are trying to say?
Yes, and I would actually say check before what kind of services. If it might happen that you have experience using that, let's say, for example, virtual private server, a VPS, or a dedicated server, or a virtual machine. If you already know how to use that and the digital hub in question has that, that means you know how to use it. You can easily incorporate that. And be something to you, and that would mean that the implementation plan would be more realistic, more tangible. So using the previous experience from working in some infrastructure is definitely an advantage in applying and working inside.
And what about you, Dabolina? You also are positive about what you have received, and you think you would look for something similar in the future?
Absolutely, because first of all, access to infrastructure, which is very important to test technical solutions, which is actually coming here for us from Terra Lab and Data Cycle Hub. So these are usually very expensive, and for being an SME, sometimes it is difficult to access them. So through the DIH, we can do that. And also, some DIH like No Center, they help us to redefine our business model, value proposition, go-to-market strategy, etc., so that we can commercialize our product to the market, which is a goal in Horizon projects. So basically, it's complementary services. So we definitely would recommend the new applicants to use DIH services.
So I think what you also said here, it's also very important that besides the technical knowledge and technical infrastructure and different services that are more technical, it's also useful for SMEs that are maybe less tech savvy, but still want to understand how their business models can be flipped, or how could they actually merge into digital. That's, I think, also very, very useful for some companies that are rather beginners and not so much digital advanced, not the producers of digital solutions as you're both. I think this is great. And then if you would have some advice or perhaps some requests to digital innovation hubs, what do you think are still the missing elements or some services that you would like to see in the future? What do you think companies like yours would still need to be able to thrive in digital markets, not only in Europe, but also globally?
I'll pass to Dabolina.
Okay, so for me, let's say in this project, we were involved in No Center, Terra Lab, and Data Cycle Hub. So we got complementary services, and definitely we would like to have more services if possible in the side of business part. Let's say market survey. So market survey is very important to commercialize any product. So this part is because sometimes business model and market survey is not the same. So we are getting support from one part, and if you could, they could include market survey in their services, that would be amazing. And infrastructures and access to the tools, that is amazing. But of course, there is always scope or room for improvement. So if they can provide us, and also we as SME should be more, after taking the support, more advanced in our sphere as well. So this is what I expect, and I'm really happy with in fact, my team, we are really happy with all the DIA that we have worked. So yeah.
Kirill, what about you? You are extremely happy and nothing more is needed, or do you have any ideas?
Okay, I'll be honest. Extremely happy. We would prefer to stay experiment and still get the infrastructure from the digital hubs. So that's for one. But yes, as you, Justina, mentioned, not on the technical side, and I agree with Dabolina. There is important things. There are more important things than just technical. For example, the service, the marketing. I can provide a comment here. Credibility. So for many projects which are a part of EU Hubs for Data, or which will be the part of the second goal, the projects are new. So many projects, for example, they don't have any first client yet, or the first early customer. And if we compare, let's say there's a website of a project which says, okay, buy our services, let's be partners, let's work together. If it just says that, that's one thing. But if it says, let's be partners, let's work together, we are supported by you for data, and your data will be in this or that digital hub with us and powers our technology. this gives some credibility. Small project becomes a part of something bigger. Potential customer, these guys are small, it's me, but they have EU hubs for data. And my data will be processed as digital in Europe, which we have the link and website, and it's a real organization and not just something small that could disappear. So it gives credibility, and I think it shall be used and shall continue to be used by projects taking.
Perfect. That's very interesting feedback. So, of course, our hubs that are here today are listening to this, but we will also try to work further to include more services and include more possibilities for companies like yours. And in addition, it's an important goal for us to also provide some kind of feedback, not only within the hubs that we are working in our federation, but also pass the word further to the European Commission, entire European Digital Innovations hubs that will be formed through 2022. So this is definitely going to happen also on European level. So that's great that you have these comments. And perhaps for the very end, if you don't have any more questions, I would just like to perhaps ask, so in one sentence, if you can conclude all your experience and the way ahead, what would be a big conclusion and kind of inspiration, or perhaps the last motto you would chant for the companies that are listening to you today or will watch a recording? Both of you.
Okay, so if I can. So I would like to say that always keep an eye on the advertisements, because all the DIHs and open calls, they do pretty well advertising. So keep an eye on that. And next, follow the process, respect the deadline, follow the scope, and I think then you are good to go. And then obviously submit your deliverables before time, and that's it.
Thank you, Dabolina. Kirill, from your last words to the companies?
Okay, it's just one line. Most of the companies.
We are again losing your sound.
I'm sorry. Does it work?
Let's try.
Okay, I'll try
Better.
one more time.
Yeah.
One line. Most companies already have some technical solution, some technology that they have built. So the other thing to do is to just create a realistic plan and apply. There are chances to get approved, and there are chances if you get in, your project will get at a whole different level. If you have the tech, do a small application, and maybe you will get a chance to get approved. That's my one.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I see that quite a few comments from the audience that this has been very helpful and useful information for them. So thanks to all of you who listened to us today and who commented. And we really hope that this will help you to make up your minds to apply and to benefit from the services that are out there exactly for you, for the companies to benefit. And thanks to all our speakers today, to Andrea and Dania for presenting their hubs, James for the open call, and Dabolina and Kirill for you and your companies for going into this journey. James, it's you. We are still trying to share the office. So thanks once again for everyone who participated, and then definitely we will follow up with the recording and the presentations and all the links so that you would know where to go and what to do as soon as the call is open. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.